Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, your executive editor at Madison365 with your daily update for today, March 18th, Thursday, March 18th. I'm sorry I'm late today. I was in a meeting about something very exciting that I can't tell you about yet, but that you'll be very excited about when I tell you, probably in a few weeks. So today, the update is brought to you with the support of Reach Dane. Reach Dane is an important nonprofit organization here in Dane County for over 51 years. Reach Dane has remained the leader in high-quality early education and comprehensive family services in both Dane and Greene counties. The families they serve have at least one child under 5 and live at or below the federal poverty line. Nearly 30% of these families are struggling with homelessness. Now, without their daily necessities met, these children cannot readily absorb education and build essential skills. So Reach Dane is working to meet those basic needs so that kids are ready to learn when they get to school. Reach Dane provides wraparound services as well as just as well as childcare. They provide services like mental health services, meals, and transportation, so that kids, like I said, when they get to school, they're ready to learn. Now, if you are in need of those services, you go to reachdane.org to enroll. They're taking enrollments right now, as well as scheduling enrollments for the fall. If you are in a position to support those services, it's a nonprofit organization. You can make a tax-deductible donation there, also at reachdane.org. And we appreciate their support of the update today. So let's talk a little bit about the coronavirus numbers today. Which let's start with the good news that the vaccinations are full speed ahead. 22,310 completed vaccinations in the past 24 hours. So that's either somebody got the one Johnson & Johnson shot or the second shot from Pfizer or Moderna. That puts us at 13% of the entire state population. About 20% of the adult population is fully vaccinated, which is great. That's moving. It's got to get to 80, but here's the thing. We heard today from the Department of Health Services that the state government feels, based on the current the pace and the rate at which people are getting vaccinated and looking at the supply they have and the supply they have coming in the future, they're forecasting that once we make everybody eligible May 1st, we will get to 80% by the end of July. Now that's word from the state today. Now, there's a lot of, I think that feels optimistic to me. I'm thinking more like August. That feels aggressive, but it also feels doable as long as we get those vaccines into the communities where people aren't quite as plugged in. There's a lot of communities in the state where people aren't regularly on the internet, aren't regularly consuming the news, don't keep up with information, who don't speak English as a first language. Those are going to be that. It's going to be that sort of last mile to get into those neighborhoods, into those communities, to get this to 80%. But the state says, in terms at least of vaccine availability, that we should be able to get to 80% by the end of July, which would be quite an accomplishment and quite a relief. Because once you get that sort of 80%, like, all these case numbers are just going to go down. And even if the case numbers, even if there's still cases, there won't be people dying or being hospitalized quite nearly as much. So that's the good news. The news that's not as good today is that those case numbers have been declining for so long, right? And it's just leveled off a little bit. So today we're back up to 490 new cases on about 3,200 tests. So that's about 15.5% were positive today. That actually, our 7-day average of cases actually went down from 411 all the way down to 410. We had 2 fatalities reported. We actually had 6 fatalities reported. And this is another thing I'll mention. We had 6 fatalities reported, but 4 were taken out. So net increase of 2 fatalities. That brings our daily average of fatalities to 5, which is still nice and low. Other thing that's concerning, the 7-day case average is 2.2%, meaning of all the tests in the past 7 days, repeat tests as well as the new tests, 2.2% were positive. That's the same as was yesterday. That's up from earlier in the week when it was 2.0. Okay, we'd like to see that to continue to go back downward. The other number that gives me a little bit of concern is that active cases went up just a tiny bit. They're at 6,390 currently active cases. Yesterday that was like 6,320. So not a big increase, but you'd rather see that number go down every day until it's all the way down to 0, or as close to 0 as we can get, right? So that is that's most of the coronavirus news. Like I said, the vaccines are looking good. We haven't gotten a new update on the variants yet. We're supposed to get one of those every Thursday. I haven't seen an update of that. Now, the other thing I'll mention in terms of data, we also got a note today from the DHS, and it was been reported in a couple of outlets, that they are doing a lot of data cleanup. I mentioned this maybe a week and a half ago, that there was one day when there was a whole bunch of counties reporting negative numbers of new cases, right? So basically what they're saying has happened is anytime you have this amount of data, and this is true of like influenza season data, like it's just the data that has always been there, we just never paid attention to. There's always cleanup that happens. Anytime you have just massive numbers of numbers, you're going to be off by 5 or 6 or 10 or 50, and you go back and correct it until you get your data all published and everything, and then you go back and you audit and you correct, and that's how that's how you trust the data. If everybody just dumped data into a spreadsheet and left it there, you could never trust it because nobody's checking it. But the fact is, the state health authorities meticulously double check the data all the time and correct it as they go. Problem is, this thing got so bad in the fall, October, November, December, worse than any flu season we've ever seen, worse than any epidemic we've ever seen in Wisconsin, at least in modern times, where we had this data process, that they didn't have the staff capacity to correct the data and to clean it up and to double check it. So now we're going back and we're cleaning up the data from the fall, we being state DHS folks. So we are seeing these weird days where they'll be like, where Langlade County is negative 50 cases today. You're like, where'd they go? Well, those are probably like 3 or 4 erroneous cases a day at a time over the course of 3 months. And now they're just fixing those data up. So, well, it looks weird and it's a little frustrating, and it can be a little, challenging. I understand where it comes from. So, that's what I have for coronavirus today. We will be back with more news. There's some news of a lot of talk lately of anti-Asian racism. So we have a story on that from Central Wisconsin, an update of something I mentioned yesterday, and other local news and statewide news as well. So stay with us. We'll be back right after this. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with me. Yesterday, I mentioned that I was going to speak with Yi Lang Zhang from Marathon County. And I did speak with him last night. He's a very energetic guy, very busy guy. He's on the DC Everest School Board. He's on the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. He's on the Village Board of Weston in Marathon County. And he is the executive director of the Hmong American Center. Hmong American Center serves people in 4 different counties all around central Wisconsin. They serve primarily Hmong and other Southeast Asian communities, although they've also started to serve other Latino communities as well. Lots of marginalized folks who need a little help here and there. So they provide food delivery, transportation to the voting, transportation to vaccine clinics. Unfortunately, they had to cancel their Hmong Wausau Festival this year because of COVID, obviously. And that's their big fundraiser. So they've been really short on funds. So they had to they basically had to park the van. They had this van and they had to park it without insurance. And Monday night, somebody decided to put this, I can see the FU, you know what that stands for? Behind here is a vulgar drawing. He described to me what it was. It's not important. This is, 10 seconds of spray painting can do thousands of dollars of damage. And he was very clear that there's no evidence that this was a targeted hate crime against Asian Americans. However, everybody knows this is the Hmong American Center. It has a big sign on it. 3 or 4 days a week, there's a bunch of Southeast Asian people who come there for lunch. It's obviously an Asian American community center. And there wasn't any other vandalism in the neighborhood. So it would be an extraordinary coincidence if this was not anti-Asian racism at work. I did talk to him about the fact that lots of people around central Wisconsin have seen an increase in passive-aggressive racism, aggressive racism against Asian American people. And it's really unfortunate and it's hard to hear about. But there's a GoFundMe for this to help them take care of this van because they didn't have insurance. So they have to pay out of pocket to get it fixed up and then get the van running again so they can start to take their folks to the vaccine clinics and keep that moving. Also today, Johnny and Marie Justice are a filmmaking duo, and they have a Kickstarter campaign to fund a new docu-series called My Americana. What they're trying to do is tell lots of different kinds of stories and what America means to lots of different people. And they are very, I don't know, if you've seen anything they've done in the past, it's the really good television and film stuff that they do. So there's the story there at Madison365.org as well on their new effort. Sheila Stubbs, State Representative Sheila Stubbs, was the lead author of a bill that would deregulate natural hair braiding, which is a practice that Black folks do all the time, and it's an opportunity for Black women especially to start businesses and make money doing it, braiding African American hair. It's a big business where it's allowed. However, in Wisconsin, it's in order to do it professionally, you have to have a cosmetology license. You have to basically be the same licensing level as a barber or a salon, which is prohibitive for people who just want to braid hair. So this bill that she has would deregulate hair braiding, and yesterday, the end of the day yesterday, it actually passed the Assembly. The Senate version will probably pass as well. Now, this is a bill she introduced 2 years ago, and it just kind of died in committee, and so she's been continuing to push it. Senator LaTanya Johnson is leading the way in the state Senate. And it's expected to pass there shortly and will be certainly signed by Governor Evers shortly thereafter. Finally today, Damon DeBoatwright, a good friend of ours, is this regional president at SSM Health. He was on our Black Power list back in 2016 as one of the most influential Black leaders in Wisconsin. SSM announced today that he's leaving that position. He's going to take the helm as the new CEO of Hospital Sisters Health System in Illinois, where he'll be leading 2,300 physician partners and over 13,000 staff in Illinois and Wisconsin. So we certainly wish the best of luck to him. Oh, so you didn't even see that. There's Damon. All right. So that's the news for today. I know it's a little bit short today and a little bit late, so I apologize for that, but I appreciate your attention. And I'll be back tomorrow. I think we'll have a pretty big story for you tomorrow, so watch Madison365.org tomorrow morning. And until then, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon.
This is 365 Media.